All right, let's get started. All right, I want to talk to you guys about this right now, all right, team? So, most prospects don't walk away from personal training because they hate sales. They walk away because the consultation made them feel pressured, misunderstood, or rushed. In this video, I'll show you how to run a consultation that creates clarity, trust, and is realistically without forcing the sale. So, let's get started. My main goal, I did actually did this training earlier with my team, and the biggest thing that I talked about with them was the understanding the gap between who you are sitting with, like the client's current state and the client's future state, and understanding the gap. And I took this from Gap Selling by Keenan. Great book. I'm currently studying it. I highly suggest you get it. And it's really helped my sales process. Okay, so I want to help you guys understand this. So when we're looking at gap selling and we're looking at being able to really focus on the consultation and how to not create pressure, the main thing that I focus on is current state, the gap, and then what's the person's future state. So when we're looking at the current state, here's what we're looking at. Where are they now? What are they currently doing? What isn't working? How long has this been happening? What barrier keeps them from getting in their way? And how is this problem affecting their life? So when someone comes in and they say, I want to lose 20 pounds, okay? That's the current state. Now, when we're talking about the future state, where do they want to be? What result do they want? Why does it matter? Why do they want it? How would their life be different? What would success allow them to do? So now when we're looking at this is their future state. So now they say they want to lose weight. They're 20 pounds overweight currently. They want to lose 20 pounds. So let's use numbers. So they're 220 pounds. They want to go to 200 pounds. Now you want to understand the gap, the difference between their present and their desired future, their barriers preventing progress, the personal consequences of remaining where they are, the support required to create that lasting change. This is very important because if you don't understand the gap of their current state and their future state, you're not going to understand how to help them. Like the gap is the most important thing because this is understanding what's the barrier for preventing progress. Like if the idea is this, if everyone can lose weight and get results, they would have done it already. So what's stopping them from doing it? The goal isn't automatically a problem we're solving. Trainers must uncover why the goal matters and what happens if nothing changes. So, the idea of gap selling realistically is just focusing on what is the gap between the current state and the future state. So, you want to ask questions to uncover the real problem. Okay. All right. So here are some questions I'm going to help you understand as you go through the consultation piece. Okay. So we're looking at the consultation piece. There's three different pieces of the consult. So there is your need goals time frame, your goal setting. So your needs goals time frame come like this. What's your need? So what's your goal? So here's how you ask that question. What's your goal? They say I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, cool. When do you want to lose it by? I want to lose 20 pounds by this time next year. Okay, cool. So this time next year is a year, so we're looking at August of next year in 2027. All right, so that's your time frame. Then we'll lose 20 pounds within the next calendar year, or around this time next year. So now you understand all you have is needs, goals, time frame. This is surface level goals. Okay, now we got to dig deeper and understand what's the why. So the questions you would ask is this: I need you to take a pen and paper and write this down. All right, if you don't have a pen and paper, get a pen and paper and write this down. Okay. How much weight would you like to lose? Where are you currently feeling it? Where are you currently seeing this? Why that specific number? When would you like to achieve it? What makes that time frame meaningful? What else would improve if you reached it? Okay. So these goals will help you understand what's happening. So like when we're looking at the goal, here's how it would sound after you ask the additional questions. Lose 20 pounds within 6 months. So I have more energy, feel confident in my clothes, and can participate in activities with my children. So that's now a whole holistic amount of goals. You don't have lose 20 pounds in 6 months anymore. You have a lose 20 pounds in 6 months so I can do these things, right? That's your current state, meaning your future state. You need to understand that, or else what ends up happening is that all you're doing is collecting data, and when you're wondering why people aren't getting started. People aren't getting started because you're not really understanding what's the reason. Like I said, people don't hate sales. What they do is they hate pressure. And if you can't create connection or understand what it is that they're actually what's happening in their life, guess what? They're not going to actually get started. Okay. So from there, when you go into needs, goals, time frame, you want to ask a question like this: when you make these changes, how will your life be different? All right. So this starts to uncover the future state. So the future state is like this. Here's some questions. Okay. What would you be able to do that you're not doing now? How would you feel? Who else would be affected? Why does that matter to you? Okay, so why you want to be able to say stuff like this is when you're going into that consultation, you want to understand what's the future state they want to paint. You want to ask additional questions in your consult, because the consult that you're asking, like when you say, when you make these changes, how will life be different? That's a question. Now they'll answer it. Generally speaking, you'll get a question, you'll get the answer, you'll get, I don't know, or you'll get, I would have lost weight and I feel good. Like that's not enough information. That's not enough information for someone to say, yeah, I want to buy train. So now here's the next question you guys can ask. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to you? What this measures is urgency, but trainers should not stop at the number. So now it's like if someone says anything but 10, you want to ask additional questions. So questions like this. Let's say the prospect says 7. So here's some questions you can ask. Why is it a 7 and not a 4? What would need to happen for it to become a 9? Why does this need attention now? You want to avoid asking why isn't it a 10? That can make the prospect defend why the goal isn't important. Like realistically, instead of asking why isn't it a 10, and this is something I used to do a lot, which is why isn't it a 10? And I used to coach my trainers on it, and then I realized I'm like, well, okay, I know that some people don't like 10. Like they don't like putting 10 out of 10 on things. So it's like, I get it. So instead of challenging them and saying, why is it not a 10? What I would look at is this. It's like, okay, so it's not a 10. That's okay. You said a 7. Why not a 4? And get them to defend their 7. What you're doing at that point is you're getting them to sell themselves on why this is important. And if a client can't sell themselves on why this is important, you are not going to sell them on it. Okay, next question is this. How long have you been attempting to achieve these goals? This explores the current state and duration of the problem. So if we're looking at a goal that someone says they want to lose 20 pounds, how long have they been attempting to lose 20 pounds for? Something that you want to know. This explores the current state and the duration of the problem. Here are some questions you can follow up with. What have you already tried? What worked temporarily? Where did things usually break down? How many times has this happened? What has that cycle cost you? Okay. So once you start asking these types of questions, you'll start unveiling more information. And when you unveil more information, once again, the prospect starts getting in a mode where they start selling themselves on why they need to do this. So then you go into questions like this. What barriers have held you back? Are these still barriers? This reveals root cause. Now, root cause is important because when you're talking to a client about potentially getting started on training, what you want to know is you said that you want to lose 20 pounds. We figured out that you've been trying this for a long time. What are the barriers? What stopped you? This is an additional question. So now what it reveals is this. I need you to write this down because this is very important, which is the common root cause that you're going to get from your client. Lack of structure, number 1. Number 2, low confidence. Number 3, inconsistent schedule. Number 4, pain or movement limitations. Number 5, lack of accountability. Number 6, uncertainty about exercise and nutrition. And number 7, previous negative experiences. These are the root causes that might stop someone from being able to get the result that they want in the gym. When someone tells you they want to lose 20 pounds, and then they tell you that this is the barrier, your job is to uncover and figure out, all right, here are some follow-up questions you would ask. Can you tell me more about that? When does that usually happen to you? What happens after that? Why do you think it keeps happening? What would prevent it from happening again? Engage your client in the consultation, because now when the client is engaged in the consultation, it means this is a interactive effort. I'm not interrogating people on what to do. I'm not trying to sell people on personal training. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to figure out how can I best help you. Okay, so now here's two more questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, how confident are you in reaching and maintaining your goal? What you're trying to do here is you're trying to separate reaching the goal from keeping the result. So some follow-up questions you can ask is this: ask what makes them what makes you feel that confident. Like, it's always an interesting one, because on the scale system, if someone says 7 and then you say how confident you feel and they say 10, something's not lining up in their internal speech, and it's in their no, they're not lining up in their mind, because they're saying one thing, they're thinking another thing. When you ask them how important it is, they say a 7, but then you ask them how confident they are, and they say a 10. What's making them so confident? And the challenge is not a matter. I'm not trying to put you down and make you feel worse. But what I really want to know is like you just told me you're 10 out of 10 confidence. What creates doubt? Explore doubt. Doubt's always an interesting one, because doubt comes up in very interesting ways. Like, someone might be very confident to tell you that they're a 10 out of 10, but really experiencing doubt. So you want to understand what creates that said doubt. And then from there, what support would increase your confidence? This is an important one as well, because you want to understand, how can I best support you? And what would make this attempt different from the previous ones? That one's an interesting one, because at the end of the day, the longer that you are in this game, this fitness industry game, personal training game, you're going to realize that you're going to meet people who have tried a lot of things. Your main goal is not to sell them on training. Your main goal is to figure out what have they tried before in the past, and figure out how can I help you this time. Okay, last question is, what do you need from me to make it possible for you to succeed? This helps the prospect describe the solution in their own words. So what you want to follow up with is this: what type of accountability works best for you? Where do you need the most guidance? What would you expect from a coach? What would make this feel like a successful investment? Now, these are important questions, because now when we're looking at being able to get yourself into the point where your people aren't feeling pressure when you are really working with them, your main goal is just to focus on, like, what results do you need from me? How do I best help you? And like I said, your main goal is to identify the current state, look at the future state, understand the gap, and then from there, describe the gap to that person. Okay. So you guys have written this down. What I want you to do. So, like, this is pretty much what I want you to do, because I want to end this video here. Okay. I want you to take a look at this. I want you to commit and be accountable for, let's say, anywhere between, it won't take you that long, but here's what we're going to do. I want you to write down one question. So number one question you'll start using immediately. So I gave you a lot of questions, and the thing is this: like, I gave you a lot of questions. You're gonna need to rewatch this video, because the goal is not to, like, take in all the questions and be like, all right, I'm gonna use them all. Like, that's not how this works. And it doesn't work like that, because if I say, here's the question I want you to understand, team, like, listen to me. The idea is that if I give you these questions and I say, here are a bunch of questions you can go through, the goal is not to memorize every question. The goal is to start making this seem like this is what I do, right? And the only way you can do that is, like, The next consult you have, practice one question. One habit you'll stop, such as presenting too early. This happens a lot, and this is what I would utilize as a constraint. I'll create constraints in my consultation efforts to make sure that when I'm going about trying to get results of people, I make sure people I don't try and oversell, not oversell. I don't try to overstep. A lot of times, what I've seen in the past is I'll see trainers go about, and someone will come in and say, "I want to work with a trainer. I don't need to do I don't need to do all this stuff. I just want to know the price." And you say the price like, "Okay, cool, thank you." What was the point of that? I say this from a point of view that at that point, if that person bought right now, what are you gonna do next? Consult? You're gonna do the assessment next? Don't skip steps. Sales is sequential, and because it's sequential, it happens in a sequence. And your job, as someone who does sales, is to understand your sequence of your sales and start from the top. So if someone says, "I want to know the price," you don't cut to the price. You say, "I hear you about the price. We'll get there in a bit, but before we go to the price, let's actually just talk about like what is you want." And someone's really hemming and hawing over what's the price, what's the price, what's the price. It's like you give them a range of price. The range of prices between X and Y. But and then reframe with another question. The range of price between X and Y, what I really want to understand is what is it that you really want? What is really motivating you to ask me about the price? Reframe the question. Ask a question back. The person asking the question is the person in charge. So like answer a question, reframe with another question. Okay. The next consultation, what I want you to do is I want you to do it in your next consult. I want you to understand where you're going to practice the process. Your next goal, realistically, is to focus on when I can actually use this. The next consultation, when is the next time you're going to actually practice the process? That's what I want you to do. This is your follow-up plan. So between now and next week, I want you to use the process in every consult. Bring one completed goal setting section to the next meeting that we have. And I want to review with the notes that we currently have. Are you getting better at identifying the current state versus the future state and the barriers and impacts that someone's having? And are you getting better at the gap? Okay. I want you to focus on role play with anyone that and another coworker. The best way to get better at all this is really going to be role play. And the issue is that, like, see how I'm wearing Michael Jordan? This guy right here was practice. He talks about being practicing so hard that when you're in a game, it doesn't feel like practice. I think that was Deion Sanders actually. But here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to present personal training when you only understand the goal. I want you to diagnose the gap first. When the prospect feels understood, your recommendation feels like a solution instead of a sales pitch. And from there, the prospect will no longer feel pressure because the fact, and they won't feel like they're being sold to because what you did is you identified what they actually need and they actually sold themselves. Okay? All right, team, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you send this to one of your personal training friends who want to learn more about sales and communication and being able to gain clients and keep clients for longer term. I got a course coming out in September. It's called Consults That Convert. I'm going to drop the link in the description. It's a Google form. What you can do there is you can go check out that Google form, type in your name, type in all your information in there, and as soon as the email gets launched for the course, you're going to get 50% off that course if you're in that Google Sheet before I lock it off at the end of this month. Thank you so much, guys. You have a great day. Peace.